Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. You wouldn't believe how long I was just sitting there waiting for this next one to record. that joke could have gone better. But anyway, in the previous episode, we brought spring to the mountains, even though it's currently summer right now. We took a look around with the help of a winged blue bear, I kid you not. Met the local Goron population, including a very big member of their community. And eventually found our way here to the entrance of their 4th dungeon. And so now in this episode, we're finally going to be doing some dungeon crawling again. Brace yourselves, guys, this one's a fun one. More or less. Welcome to the Dancing Dragon Dungeon. First of all, you'll notice that there is a lot of water here. I guess the waterfall did find a way to go somewhere else, and that somewhere else happened to partially be this entrance room. As you can see, we already have a locked door off to the east preventing us from going anywhere, so we're going to have to head north. The bad news is this really cool color scheme they got here with the azure and gray, and it gives way to more of a green. I'm not quite as big of a fan, but it's still overall a more pleasing color scheme. We got a shrouded Stalfos here. They walk around. They're a little slower and less erratic than their non-hooded, smaller-headed counterparts, and they throw spears, but they're a little more durable in general. Not a huge threat, though. And we push this block and already obtain bombs. You'd think that would imply something, but we'll have to wait just a little longer. So onward we head through into another minecart section. Been a while since we've seen those. Got some more keys and shrouded Stalfos here, and wouldn't you know it, there's a cracked wall, and they just gave us some bombs to do something about it with. Mine those holes in the floor. You remember what happened last time I dealt with those, right? So now we have a interesting little puzzle. We got 9 pots in the center here and 8 switches. You see, normally you'd think, yeah, I can just lift these, I can just move a couple of these pots out of the way and push them onto switches, right? Well, the problem with that is, now we're short a pot. We have 8 switches, and only 7 pots to put them on. So, normally you'd think, oh crap, I'm dead in the water, right? I'm gonna have to do this over? Well, actually, this is the right thing to do. I know. Thing is, well, things aren't quite as they seem. And while we wrap things up here, I want to call attention to something that you've probably been noticing since we walked in here. The music. Oh man, this one is good. This is the point where the dungeon themes in Oracle of Seasons start getting really, really good, and this is just the start of it. Although, even if you start to get... can't talk right now. Even if this dungeon may not be your favorite, the music is, oh wow. But now that we have pots on 7 of the switches, what's left to do? Let's step on the 8th one ourselves. And it turns out, this is one of those things where we just seem to have every switch activated at the same time, not have something on them permanently. And now we have a key for the taking. But before we head back to that locked door at the entrance, we want to do a little more in this western wing of the 1st floor. So you saw a switch over by the minecart as we entered in. I'm going to hit that real fast. Once we're past... Okay, wait, no, I didn't do that right. Okay, memory's failing me. This is going to take some fancy footwork. A fancy arm sword swinging. Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't get turned around here. Okay, now we want to hit this switch before we get there. Letting us go down west. And sending us in here. Keep an eye out for those water tektites. They can be kind of a pain to get around. See, that music just sticks in your head. It's addicting. It's really nice. There you go. Wow. I guess I have pretty good aim. So this puzzle's honestly not all that difficult. Just push the statue onto the switch. Pretty easy stuff. And the door's open. More water, more tektites here. This waterfall really just... I wonder if this water was always here. Actually, the water was probably always here if these water tektites ran around here, because if, the water's their natural habitat, where would they have, they wouldn't have survived in here if the water wasn't here to begin with, unless there was a big enough opening from the waterfall for them to just fall in here, but... Anyway, dungeon semantics. Look at me talking about reasons for enemies to be in a dungeon in a Zelda game. Usually they're just there for you to kill. So we head downward. Turns out this dungeon has multiple floors, just like the one before it. Although the one we went into was actually the second floor. Keep an eye out here. We have a new enemy, a green Wizrobe. They appear and disappear to shoot magic, but a green Wizrobe will always reappear in the exact same spot that it disappeared in. Makes them much easier to manage. Although they can and will change the direction they aim in. So anyway, whoa, okay. So let's get rid of this bubble. Not too hard. See if we can find anything useful in these pots. Take these keys out for posterity's sake. Careful. Careful. Got our health back. Down here, we find ourselves in another 2D passage. Let's get Rock's Feather active, because you know we're going to need it. Careful. Don't want to fall down there. Not only will you take damage over time for being on those spikes, you'll take damage every time you try to come back. Every time you touch back down, as you try to your mercy invincibility doesn't last very long down there, so you'll end up taking hits multiple times as you try to get back to the ladder to carry yourself back up to the upper part of this floor. And it gets even worse if you get crushed under these moving platforms. But anyway, here is everyone's least favorite obstacle from Mega Man games. Yoku blocks, more or less. Except they come and go in 2 sets instead of... Okay, they come and go in 3 sets instead of going in patterns. But yeah, they can block you from getting around to places, and you need to find their patterns. And hope momentum doesn't carry you off them and into a pit. And now we need to find a way to traverse across them to get to the other side. Let's stay higher up this time. So now, well, ideally the puzzle here is to light the torch so that you can see your way across these pits to reach the chest over here. Thing is, when the torch light goes out, you can actually still find your way around pretty easily, because you can just barely see, you can barely make out the pathway. You don't even need to squint or anything. I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to do here. It's kind of a missed opportunity. Easy key to get. Well, you know, aside from the 2D section, which is honestly the more difficult part. There we go. Careful, and made it. Now not to get impaled by the spikes. Oh, great. And the worst part is that you'll half a heart every time you touch him. But as you saw there, if you jump the instant you land back down, you can get 2 jumps every time you get hit without getting hit again. It's still a pain. So now we want to head over to the east here. Is there going to be anything new in these pots? Probably not. Yeah, I didn't think so. We want to head through the east here. Find ourselves in another sectioned off area with a chest containing a dungeon map. Let's take a look at this dungeon, shall we? Whoop. Die, damn it. And as you can see here, we have a full 3 floors this time. And if you arrange the rooms horizontally, you know, left to right, it'd look kind of like a dragon in flight. It's kind of cool. Although the fact that there are 3 floors to deal with now means this dungeon's going to be even more complicated than the last one. As we take a second to get rid of this bubble before it hits us. Ooh, hey. Nothing like throwing the boomerang sideways, right? Or, yeah, there we go, like that. Keep an eye out for that keys. You know, it's times like this. You see, now that we've done everything there is to do in this northern and western section of the dungeon. It's times like this that make me wish that you could use a Gale Seed in a dungeon and walk right back to the entrance. Although, I mean, I can kind of see why they did such a thing, because, I mean, it kind of sucked to have one missed input send you all the way back. On the other hand, that's exactly how the magic mirror worked in dungeons in A Link to the Past, so I don't know. I think it might have been a good idea just to have Gale Seeds do that in the Oracle games in dungeons. I don't know, you know? I don't know. Or at least we get to enjoy the music a little more as we journey back to the entrance. And check out these pots that we didn't lift before to and lost hearts from that. To see if we can find some health, or if we're lucky, a fairy in them. No. Typical. At least we get to listen to music on our way back, right? Oh, and wouldn't you know it, a heart dropped right like... This is not going very well so far. Scale seats. As soon as I was talking about how borderline useless they are in dungeons, there they are, you know? So anyway, we're back in the entrance room. We can head due east now. We're not going to have any reason to need to go back to the west, unfortunately. This, obviously, this dungeon, as cool as it can be, as awesome as the music is, the dungeon is rather linear and kind of predictable at times. It's one of its shortcomings. It's just, it is what it is. I wish they did a little more with the fact that you had to divert a waterfall to get into here. Maybe they had more of the waterfall pouring into the dungeon. They could do more things with that. So anyway, we have a new type of Stalfos here, green ones. They'll try to jump up above you and ground pound you like, well, you know, it's like fighting Bowser or Yoshi in Smash Brothers. And you don't even have the courtesy of shielding or roll dodging out or spot dodging out of the way. The good news is the Stalfos are rather predictable. There are actually two other colors of Stalfos, as we'll see, and each of them has a slightly different fighting style. It's kind of cool. But anyway, the main thing we want to do in this room is push that block to make it a rather obvious chest appear. Anything more in these pots, anything at all, because I'd rather not burn that potion. No such luck. So anyway, in this chest is the compass. And now with a quick look at the map, we can see there are, well, there are at least 3 notable items left for us to pick up. Although, if you've noticed by now, keys and such that just fall from the ceiling actually do not show up as chests on the map, so the compass isn't entirely useful in that regard. More of these spinning tumblers, well, actually, these aren't quite spinning tumblers, these are kind of spiked roller things. Don't get hit by them. The good news is, you can dive under them using the flippers. It's very nice, if you think to do it anyway. Quick, there we go, there's a nice little pick-me-up, and there's seeds, bombs, etc. Swim past here, you can press B to surface again real fast to have direct control over when you come up, otherwise you'll, careful, spike beetle coming that way. Alright, now it's dead, good. Couple more keys here. And now we gotta be smart with this. You see, if you spend too much time hanging around in one of these holes, hanging on in one of these areas here, I feel like I'm playing chicken. The floor will give way, leading to a rather inexplicable hole in the middle of a hole in the floor. And if you had that happen on both sides, you're gonna have to leave the room and come back. Just be smart about it. Just press A as soon as you land again, or whatever button you have the Rock's Feather equipped to at the moment, then you should be okay. And we have another minecart. I wonder if this area is supposed to be kind of like abandoned mining complex or something. It'd be kind of cool, to be honest. I guess a little beyond the 8-bit limitations of the system, but oh well. More Stalfos here. A lock block. Careful. We want to head off to the west real fast. Careful. Interesting looking spiral pattern. I didn't want to go back in that. This is one of those days, isn't it? Yep. Alright, let's try that again. So, it's a rather large room, so you don't have to worry too much about the like-likes unless you throw something at them and the knockback carries them into you. Let's not have that happen again. Good water Tektite, and a key falls into the water. You'd think it'd be long gone, right? Not entirely so, because you head to where the key fell and dive. You can just pick it up. And now we're back to having 2 keys. That's another recurring thing you'll see in this dungeon. You'll spend quite a bit of the time, if you do explore it fully, having 2 keys with you. So, let's head off to the east again here. For real this time, open the lock block now that we have another key. Another Shrouded Stalfos. This one has a sword, so we can block some of your attacks like a Moblin with a sword would. Killing the enemies makes a staircase appear, which is rather interesting. First time we've seen that. Is there anything of note in these pots? Anything? Please give me some help. Come on. No such luck again. What does the Sal statue have to say? Greater speed gives greater distance. You see, normally, this would be the part where you figure out that using Rock's Feather to jump with a Pegasus seat active lets you cross larger gaps than you would be able to normally. We had the courtesy of figuring that out a little earlier on. So anyway, now we found ourselves back on the first floor, although it wasn't exactly the first floor since we entered in the second floor. We found ourselves out on a not quite so sectioned off section of it. Here we have a gold Stalfos. Interesting in that not only will they try to jump and dodge out of their way, they won't ground pound though. They will occasionally try to throw bones at you as projectiles. This one hasn't yet. He's kind of camera shy, I guess. Here we have a red soul. We haven't seen one of those in a while. By the way, if a red gel latches onto you, not only will it slow you down, you won't be able to use items as long as it's there. Why hasn't that one thrown anything? I'm honestly kind of surprised. I didn't get the gold and red ones confused, did I? I guess we'll find out when we find a red one. Anyway, another minecart. Whole bunch of torches we can't touch, but the compass says there's something in here. And as you can see, it means the chest is going to appear once we figure something out. Careful. Take those out. We have a Deku Scrub here of all places. Offering a deal for 10 Ember Seeds. Which raises the question of what he sells them to when there aren't heroes wandering around. Anyway, in this chest is another key just kind of sitting here. I honestly wonder what the purpose was of putting a key here right along the main path. It's just kind of... yeah. Anyway, we have some stuff to jump across here. Make sure you time your jumps properly. You're going to be eating spikes. Up here is up to that platform where the chest will inevitably appear when we find a way to light those torches. Just so you know for later. Heading downward again. Careful. Jump, jump, jump. That went unusually well. Okay, for this fight coming up, minor spoilers, you're going to want to have some Ember Seeds on hand. Can you see through my power? Meet Agonima! No, it doesn't sound like a blatantly mistranslated version of Aghanim, according to the fact that that this guy's Japanese name is actually spelled differently than Aghanim's Japanese name. It appears to be a different entity entirely. So as you can see, he has 3 copies that all shoot stuff at you. Unfortunately, you can't reflect them, so no Dead Man's Volley here. So how do you solve them? Once you have the room lit, once you have the room lit fully, a shadow will appear under the real one, and so you just take swings at it. The bad news is, you do need both torches lit to figure out which one to go after. And all 3 of them do have inordinately good ability to cover the entire, quite a large area. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Let's light these again. The good news is, if you manage to hit him before any of his copies shoots, then he'll immediately stop trying to shoot. If the torch goes out while you already know... But even if you know which copy is the real one, if both the torches aren't lit, you will still not be able to harm him. I guess that's to keep you from just taking wild swings in the dark. But it is still a pain. And especially if you miss the torch and have to wait for the fire to go out. Although I'd imagine he can't take too many more hits. Light 1. Light 2. Come on. Got him. And with that, the mini-boss of the Dancing Dragon Dungeon has been vanquished. Opening up a warp point to the entrance that we can use at any time if we just so happen to die or need to go back there. Like, say, if you missed one of those keys earlier on and need to double back to obtain it. And now, we have already made it... We've already made it halfway through the 4th dungeon in the game. Despite how long they can get sometimes, they just kind of breeze through if you know what you're doing, huh? And so, next time when next time when Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, we're going to be tackling the second half of this dungeon. See you guys then.